The Andy Pollin Show.
We got to go after this with everything we got, figuring they're going to come with everything they got.
I'll start off by saying I'm bored, I'm broke, and I'm back.
The Andy Pollin Show on ESPN 630 starts right now.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah, how about them Cowboys?
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah, how about them Cowboys?
How about them Cowboys?
Oh, Jerry, thank you, Jerry. Oh, we had 24 years of this kind of nonsense with Dan Snyder. And now, Jerry, you have taken the torch. You're 82 years old, and you've just said to the NFL, we are rebuilding with the highest paid quarterback in the league. Oh, my God. You don't trade Micah Parsons. You don't try and tell people you got great value, 2 first-round picks, and a fading tackle. Oh, man. Man, oh, man, oh, man. God, I did not think that this would happen. I was among those convinced that they would get this done. Jerry likes to take this up to the last minute, as he did last year or the year before with Dak Prescott when he signed as he was getting on the bus to go to the game. He does this kind of thing. It keeps him in the public eye. He likes that. Financially, it's worked out great for him. He's got the most valuable franchise in sports, worth over $12 billion, more than twice what was paid for the Washington team a couple of years ago. But, man, these guys don't come along very often. You got a disruptor here. The 3 most important positions in the NFL right now are number 1 by miles, quarterback. Number 2, and this might be close at number 2. Number 2 is receiver, and number 3, or maybe 2A, is edge rusher. Those are the 3 positions. And when you get a gem at quarterback, you don't let him get away. When you got a really good wide receiver, you don't let him get away unless he's starting to age. And when you've got the best pass rusher in the game in his prime, oh, man, you just don't do it.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah, how about them Cowboys? Man, oh, man, oh, man. This is great. It's, the Washington will have to face them. They used to have to face them twice a year. This year it'll be when they play Green Bay a week from Thursday. So, 13 days from now in that Thursday night game. But that's it for the year. Remember last year at the end of the season, it was the last game of the year, and they were so afraid that Micah Parsons might slam into Jaden Daniels that they kept Daniels on the bench in the second half and let Marcus Mariota take over. And Marcus won the game anyway. It was a game that they didn't have to win, but they won it. And they were just so concerned about Micah Parsons creating havoc in their backfield that they safely put Jaden Daniels on the bench. So this is it's great news for Washington for long term. We heard things like, the Cowboys, they may have made some improvements in the offseason. Healthy Dak Prescott, they're going to make life difficult for them. And now they have a journeyman tackle who Jerry is selling as a run stopper. He also did say, and we'll get into more of what his comments were yesterday at a news conference last night, where he answered one question in 11 minutes. An 11-minute answer to a question. He also called Micah Parsons Michael several times. And at 82, you don't necessarily want this guy with his hands in the soup. But, or hands in the stew, what's the term on that? Anyway, he's the general manager of the team. And on top of everything else, he's got the ultimate job security because Jerry's never going to fire Jerry. But this is the kind of move that would get the other 31 general managers fired. If Adam Peters ever did something like this, he'd be out the door. Not Jerry. Now, this was really fun yesterday. Michael Irvin, who's doing a lot of promotion for this Netflix series on the Cowboys, and the subtitle is The Gambler, meaning Jerry Jones. He was on NFL Live yesterday afternoon, literally less than an hour, maybe just like minutes before the trade was announced. And this is what Michael Irvin told the ESPN NFL Live crew.
Our Adam Schefter reporting that the Cowboys are now listening to trade offers for Micah Parsons. What's your reaction to that?
Micah Parsons, hey, look, you can report all you want. There's no way they're allowing Michael Parsons to go anywhere. All of it, all of this is part of the negotiations. And as I talked to Jerry the other day on my podcast, and he was talking about it the other day when he tried to make that offer, he said somebody told him to shove it up his rear and all of that. I honestly, it blew my mind. It blew my mind that any kind of conversation like that would be going on in a situation like this. Michael Parsons, I want him to take control of this thing and say, I don't care about you two and whatever y'all got going. Get your butts in a room and get my money on that paper. That's what you need to be doing. So I'm hoping that's what gets done. But I guarantee Michael Parsons not going anywhere. Jerry's not that crazy. This is all what we call just negotiation stuff.
Jerry's not that crazy? Oh, no? Jerry is that crazy. And here's how he explained what is one of the craziest trades that's been seen in the NFL for a long, long time.
When I offered Micah the contract that I offered him back in April, he flew in from out of the country, wanted to come right in. I said, no, get you a night's sleep and come on in the next day. Get you the next day. He wanted to come right in. When I did that, we offered him a contract to come play for the Dallas Cowboys, and it was a good one, okay? Now, it was more guaranteed than what I've been reported that was here now. But my point is, without getting into detail, that was a very genuine negotiation. And I changed the amounts. And then we left, and then he called back and talked to Steven. Steven negotiated amounts. We changed those amounts that he called back from. And then, of course, the rest is history. When the time came to say, let's go, then he said, well, let's start the negotiation. And again, nothing in the world am I criticizing Micah about at all. That was every bit his right. And Micah's never been anything but so pleasant for me to be around. I want to be real clear about it, not that it implies that it's not. Things are good here. Things are good here. We have just decided that it was in the best interest of our team to take the consideration that we have. We appreciate his 4 years. But we can take that consideration and we can win in our minds more than had we gone the other route and signed him. That's not a negative on Micah. That's just unique to our circumstances.
Were there any trade discussions prior to the draft regarding Micah?
Trade discussions with who?
With other teams regarding Micah?
No. So this is something that came up because of this, and this is what Don Van Natta is reporting. And Don Van Natta has won a Pulitzer Prize. He's one of the best investigative reporters in the business. He also did an outstanding profile on Jerry Jones about 10 years ago, where he spent a lot of time with him. So he probably got this right from Jerry. But according to what Van Natta has, when Jerry brought in Micah Parsons, and you heard him describe it there as he was overseas and came to see him the next day, Jerry says that he has a handshake agreement, according to what Van Natta has. He had a handshake agreement with Micah Parsons, and then Micah Parsons reneged on that, probably after talking to his agent, who said something like, what the F are you doing? And according to the collective bargaining agreement, deals can't be made that way. There are players who represent themselves, but if you have an agent, the agent's got to do it. And so Jerry tried to bypass the agent. The agent, rightly so, said, no, Micah, you can't sign that. I have to make sure it's what we want here. And so Jerry, in a revenge move, traded Micah Parsons, but he has cut off his nose, I believe, to spite his face. This was Michael Irvin. You heard him before the trade was announced. This is Irvin on his podcast after the deal.
We love Michael Parsons. So in order for us to be right here, something had to go down that hurt Jerry personally to make this crazy, dumb move.
Then there's a long pause here. Michael's got to get his thoughts together. I'm sure he's shook by this because he said, I guarantee it's not going to happen. Here we go.
The Gambler and his Cowboys. It's the series that is out right now. This is a gamble the gambler should not have taken.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah, how about them Cowboys? So, yeah, the gambler decided, I'm in charge here. I'll be the one that decides. And look, the contract that he got, this is really a win for Micah Parsons. It's the highest contract for a non-quarterback, $188 million, 4 years, $136 million guaranteed. So he got more than twice what Terry McLaurin got and more than 3 times the guarantee. And again, the 3 positions, quarterback by far 1, wide receiver, edge rusher 2 and 2A. And what Green Bay now has, this could be a benefit 2 ways for Washington. 1, they don't have to face him twice a year. They'll only see him once a year now or on occasion. They don't play Green Bay every year. And on top of that, Green Bay maybe moves a notch up on Philadelphia. Maybe they are more of a contender than the Eagles are. And, we'll get an idea as to how Washington matches up against Green Bay when they play that first Thursday night game in a week from Thursday. Maybe we will know if they match up better. I mean, look, for the Cowboys, and if they have any designs of being contenders now, and they should be with what they're paying Dak Prescott, and CeeDee Lamb and some of the other stars designed to win now, then now you might if you think you're going to be competing with Green Bay. Well, remember the last time the Cowboys were in a playoff game at home, heavily favored? They got their doors blown off by the Green Bay Packers. So now the Packers are probably even better than they were 2 years ago. And without Micah Parsons, the Cowboys are significantly worse. So this is one of the all-timers. Now there is some concern about health, but I gotta believe that the Packers did their due diligence on this. Parsons missed some time in training camp with what they called back tightness, but that may have been something like the Terry McLaurin ankle. What reporters have said is the McLaurin ankle injury was legit, did need to rehab that, probably didn't need to stay out as long as he did. Parsons, maybe they were doing the hold in to kind of smooth things out by saying he had back tightness. But it's been over for a while. And to see Micah Parsons at the exhibition game over the weekend snoozing on the training table while the game is going on, that was a terrible look. And the whole thing was just a terrible look, top to bottom, with Parsons did, like McLaurin, ask for a trade. Now, he did put out a statement on Twitter after the deal. He says, "I never wanted this chapter to end, but not everything was in my control. My heart has always been here and still is. Through it all, I never made any demands." Well, you did. You asked to be traded. "I never asked for anything more than fairness." Well, you asked for a trade. "I only asked that the person I trust to negotiate my contract be part of the process." Yeah, that's not what Jerry had in mind when he called you up on your overseas trip and said, "Come into my office, I got a deal for you." He was looking to bypass the agent. Jerry doesn't like agents. Most owners don't like agents, but they understand that it's part of the process. And Jerry rightly said, I mean, this is correct, what agents do, is they're in it for themselves. Sure, they're doing the best they can for their clients, but they want to say to other players, "Hey, look what I did. Look what I did for Micah Parsons." And the agent right now is on top of the world. He played this out perfectly to take a guy who was going to get less than $40 million a year. I think that was the number that it was going to be under. And now he's got a contract that's going to pay him $48 million a year. That's a win. And he's going to the Green Bay Packers, which is a better organization. I heard, Skip Bayless, who's always looking for attention and goes the way of like Tebow good, LeBron bad. That's his act. He is saying, "Oh, he's not going to like living in Green Bay." That is such nonsense. NFL players own multiple homes, and he can live wherever he wants in the offseason, and he can get himself a nice house or condo in Green Bay. You didn't hear any fetching out of Aaron Rodgers all those years playing in Green Bay when they were contending and winning championships and winning a Super Bowl. You didn't hear that from him. No, you didn't. So that's a bunch of nonsense. This is a great move for Micah Parsons. He's with a better organization. He's with a team that's more poised to win right now. They think they have in Jordan Love a quarterback. He may not be the best quarterback in the league, but he's one of those, top-tier guys that you can win with. And you've got a team that's already shown the Dallas Cowboys in a playoff game that they're in much better shape. So, Jerry, this is a loss. Financially, you're the king. You have done it better than anybody has ever done it in sports. But Jerry Jones, the general manager, has become one of the worst, if not the worst general manager in the history of the NFL. And you know what? Ain't nobody going to fire him. Not going to happen. Coming up, we'll get some reaction from Ashburn, not to the trade because this was before the deal was made, but reaction to the end of training camp and as they get ready for the opener in facing the Giants a week from Sunday, and 5 days after that, at Green Bay against Micah Parsons and the Packers. It's the Andy Pollin Show, ESPN 630.
The Andy Pollin Show on ESPN 630, the sports capital.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah, how about them Cowboys? We'll talk more about them coming up. Micah Parsons now with the Green Bay Packers. Jerry Jones doesn't have to shell out the money, but on the other hand, he's got a aging tackle in return, 2 first-round picks, which he accurately says he can flip this year and still get more talent either during the season or the 10 days we have before it begins. Actually, it's less than that for the Cowboys because they get started on Thursday night against the Eagles. But there is that. But this is insane. Now, these guys, they're hard to find. It is hard to find a pass rusher of his ability in the NFL. They're very rare. They're like quarterbacks. They're hard to find. And Green Bay said, "Well, yeah, well, you're not going to eat that. We'll take that. That's going to be okay." Speaking of getting paid, Terry McLaurin, that's all over with. Dallas Cowboys. It's chaos today. I spent 2 years working in Dallas, early 80s. I did not do sports talk radio. In fact, sports talk hadn't even been invented yet. There was a couple of guys who did talk shows like 6 to 7, kind of like what Ken Beatrice used to do, if you're old enough to remember that. Around here, like, maybe a 7 to 9 type of show. Brad Sham, the voice of the Cowboys, did one, and the guy I worked with, Norm Hitzkiss, did one, but I didn't do talk radio. Today is a day that I would pay to do talk radio in Dallas. This has got to be awesome. This is a day off for anybody who does talk radio. You just open up the phones and let the fans bleed, because this one, I'm sure, is an unbelievable gut punch to a fan base that may have still believed that something miraculous could happen. Like the season they had 2 years ago, I mean, it looked like they had a chance to make a run at the Super Bowl. Dak was healthy, and then they played the Packers and just got embarrassed. And then last year, Dak gets hurt. They don't make the playoffs, and here we are. Aging Dak, big contract, and on the other side of the ball, they just lost their best player, one of the best players, if not the best defensive player in the NFL. But there is serenity in Ashburn. And Jaden Daniels now has his top receiver under contract. Terry McLaurin is signed. He practiced yesterday, and Jaden was all smiles.
It's bigger than ball. Obviously, he's earned that. And, you want to have people back who earn stuff, especially in this league. So he put in the work day in and day out, year in and year out. So he is very deserving of getting paid.
Yeah, I would say that. I think that the players all feel that, and Terry put a smile on it. No matter how he feels about the guaranteed money, $44 million, not quite probably what he was looking for, but now he's got a chance to prove it. And if he is, in fact, one of those rare guys who continues to perform at a high level into his 30s, then maybe he plays out the contract. Maybe he plays out the next 4 seasons, the 1 year left this year, and the 3-year extension. As far as getting ready to play, now remember this, not only did Terry McLaurin miss all of training camp, he missed minicamp, and he missed a good portion of the offseason workouts. So even though he and Jaden developed great chemistry last year, I mean, it's been, since January? Since January, 8 months since they played a game, no action during the preseason. and really until the last couple of days, no practice. So this was asked of Dan Quinn yesterday about the concern level of getting their timing back between the two of them.
Time on task, John, honestly, to say, do they have experience together? Yes. Banked reps? Yes. But still, like yesterday, we ran a deep play action, that was over to Terry. That was like a good route that you'd seen before. So now let's work this one some more, this one a little bit more. So Jaden's excellent with that, to work a specific route with a specific player on some things. And so that's what you'll see more with him and Terry, extras, earlies, this specific route, this timing, because it's not all the same for every player. And so that's kind of the challenge of it, from a quarterback and a receiver, not the playing zone where you're, back facing the quarterback, but, deep overs, comebacks, the timing of it. So that's what they'll continue to work through.
Obviously, they're both very good players, right? But together, they, the connection, the red zone, all that. Is there something else about how they operate besides just being good that allows them to have a certain connection?
Yeah, I would say the complementary reason that comes to mind first, I would think, John, is one's an exceptional deep ball ability to go track it, and the other's exceptionally throwing it. So I think maybe there's, I've never really thought of it in that way, but there's probably some complementary football that goes to one another. So here's a guy that can really go and get on top of people and catch it over different shoulders on a deep ball, and a quarterback who's got the touch to do it. So I think that's probably the biggest complementary piece, of their games, that they're able to, support one another on two of the things that they both do really well.
All right, that's on the connection there between Daniels and McLaurin. This is about the running back change. So in your program, scratch B-Rob and put in C-Rod. Chris Rodriguez is going to take the bulk of certainly the short yardage carries, and the hope is he can be a 1,000-yard rusher for this team, maybe take some of the pressure off Jaden Daniels as well. This was Quinn on the decision to go with Rodriguez as the top guy, a guy who has battled his way on and off the roster and has proven in the last couple of years that he's ready to take the torch, and this is what Quinn likes best about him.
Consistent, for one. I would say, like, when somebody can demonstrate over and over again that they're willing to put the work in, find the right read, not just the physical skill, but mentally on the special teams. Like, he's a player chick that this team really trusts. If you ask Larry, like yesterday, he was giving the look on punt to another player who's playing the wing. That's the same spot Chris often plays. So that move that he hit, he knows what stresses him. And so I thought, what a great example of, like, Jeremy and him providing the look of things that can be troublesome to some of the other players. And if you can get your team to a spot like that where they're testing one another and pushing one another, that's a really big deal. And I think Chris is a great example of that. I saw it in the preseason games, whether he was just excited when Bill had a big run against Cincinnati as he was for himself. And so that doesn't happen all the time. And but I like his fight. I like that he really worked hard to change his body. And those are things that when people continue to show you that, then you pay attention.
To follow up on that, did you intend to keep four backs once you guys traded Brian Robinson? Did you know you would keep four backs, and how much did Chris's play in preseason camp, and I guess even late last season, kind of play into his getting a spot this year?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I think it was definitely, usually it's at the skill spot. How many tight ends, how many running backs? The evolution also of the return game, Nikki, that's influenced me too, because those are more plays and examples to go see if we can, further even that starting field position. Right now at the touchback on the 35, we're anticipating a lot of people putting it into play, but we don't know that yet. And so I think that part of the game it feels running back-ish. Not to say that Debo is a receiver, but he runs hard like a back in a lot of ways, so he's certainly another one that we'll have. But I think that is a big part of it. We think of an A back and a B back. Austin out of the backfield, third down. So it's not one size fits all, but I do like the versatility of the room.
Yeah, pretty much running back by committee. This is about what they did last year, historic on fourth downs. I believe the number was 43 attempts, and they made it 40 times. I mean, that's just, or maybe it was less than that, 20 of 23 or something like that. I mean, it was just incredible what they did on fourth down. And what you're hearing from a lot of the people who are predicting what's going to happen this year, they're going to say, look, they had a bunch of late wins last year, miraculous wins, including the Hail Mary game against Chicago, and the ability to convert on fourth down. And teams are going to be looking for that, and just the law of averages says you wouldn't convert like that. This is Quinn on why it worked so well last year and why he feels confident about the ability to be what they used to call Ron Rivera, Riverboat Ron. What we saw here in 4 years with Ron, he wasn't Riverboat Ron. I don't know what you call Dan Quinn, but going for it as much as he has on fourth down, that's gambling. But when you have that kind of success rate, I don't know how big of a gamble it is.
Jaden was a big factor, in that 87% or whatever the number was. There was a handful for sure that was called one thing, and then something happened and he made the rest go down. We don't have a play called that. You don't want to count on that. That's a reactive way of the ball player doing his thing, but you don't want to lean into that. I think that's irresponsible. You want to make sure, hey, this is what we think we're going to do, how we're going to go down. But really by game is we make those decisions as much as we can before the game. So going in, the coordinators know what to expect, how we're going to do it. And then as the game unfolds, I'll communicate with them, where we're at. But I think the secret for me on telling the coordinators is early in the drive. So no one's ever caught off guard. Hey, we're going to go for it here, because it can impact some of your third down calls if it's into fourth down, knowing that you may have two downs.
That's Dan Quinn. And he said this a number of times, that he will say, sometimes even before a drive, he'll say to Cliff Kingsbury, you got 4 downs here. So he knows that the play that he calls on third down might be a lot different than if they were going to punt. I mean, there was a time in the NFL that if it was third and a foot, you punted. Now you almost never see that, no matter where you are on the field. And I don't know whether the tush push has influenced that, but the coaches who go on fourth down, there are more and more of them. And also the thinking on going on fourth down, almost no matter where you are on the field, is a lot, even behind your own 50. That's pretty much commonplace now. It may have to do with the fact that it's an offensive league, that you just can't pass up opportunities to keep drives alive, even if it's somewhat of a gamble. And even if it doesn't work out, Detroit does this all the time. Detroit has lived off of this, and they got a really good defensive team, at least when they're healthy. So that may have something to do with it too, that that your defense will bail you out if you don't make the first down. But the one thing about Jaden, and you hold your breath every time he runs, but the run that he had, limited preseason, 4 plays, 3 handoffs, but the touchdown run, if you watch that, it's not just the speed, it's the elusiveness. And if he gets into the open field, forget about it. And you don't have that necessarily in short yardage, but you can have him roll out. You can have him bootleg. There's a lot of things that he can do, and he can do better than anybody else. So, I guess if you're playing Marcus Mariota, although he can run as well, but not as well, you're probably going to be less likely to go on the fourth down. But what he's saying is, I know I got 5 here, and 5 can make a play. It's not just speed; it's elusiveness. Well, hell of a weapon. Last thing on the Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin thing. The other day, McLaurin held his news conference. Jaden talked yesterday, so I guess this would have been Wednesday when the contract was signed. They were back on the practice field. Terry McLaurin, as he always does, had a long news conference, about 25 minutes, and they're wrapping up, but he wasn't asked about something that he wanted to be asked about. And if you're watching the game on Saturday against Baltimore, he was there, but it was like 85 degrees, and he had a hoodie on, and he had the hood up. And some said, oh, there he is, pouting about the contract. Yeah, that's Terry McLaurin. So he wanted to get on the record why he wore the hoodie. And with everybody sort of wrapping up their stuff, and the camera had stopped rolling for the feed from Commanders.com, McLaurin came back to the microphones and added this.
The hoodie is you got to ask more of my family, but like I'm a hoodie guy. Like it could be 90 degrees out, I'm gonna wear a hoodie. It could be 50 degrees out, I'm gonna wear a hoodie. And it's like, I mean, you catch me out here in Ashburn, I probably got a hoodie on because I'm trying to stay low key. Like I never want to be like, you know, in the way. And I think, you know, the hoodie kind of just allows me, it may not feel like it's everybody else, but to me it makes it feel like I'm kind of off and secluded a little bit. But the hoodie's not going anywhere, man. I'm a hoodie person. So shout out to all the hoodie people out there. I'll stand up for y'all, man, because hoodies are one of the best clothing pieces that you can have. So there we go.
The Terry McLaurin hoodie merch coming soon.
I know. Hoodies coming your way.
Yeah, see, I think that most people thought it had the opposite effect. He thought, I'll wear the hoodie, I'll kind of blend into the background. You know, it won't be such a big deal. I won't, you know, take away from the team. What happened was that people looked at the hoodie and goes, "Oh yeah, look at him pouting there in the hoodie." He's got a soulmate though in Jaden Daniels, because Jaden was asked about the hoodie yesterday.
I'm the same way. Hoodie. You see me in a hoodie, wearing a hood, no matter the weather. I remember when I was even back home in Arizona, I wear a hoodie in 115-degree weather, so that's just me.
Yeah, I guess it's a fashion thing. I remember when I was a kid, you looked like a nerd if you wore a hoodie and you did the drawstring underneath. But you know what really amazes me? When you get to these cold weather games, like in December and January, you will see players wearing these hoodies under their uniforms. It seems like that's just something else to grab on the back. I don't think that's a horse collar. You know, like, for example, I don't think they've changed the rules. Like when Ricky Williams was a running back in the league, playing for, I think, played Dolphins and Saints and maybe Baltimore, maybe just another team in there. You were allowed to tackle him by the dreads. That was within the rules. You could do that. The hoodie just seems like it's something else to grab onto. I'm really amazed when I see these guys wear it under their uniforms. And it also now is a young person look. So when you see older guys wearing the hoodie, and it's not more so like the long T-shirt hoodie, not the ones where it gets cold. Like I have one from my college. I have a hoodie that I wear occasionally when it gets really, really cold. But I don't really ever put the hood up. Here's two star players in the NFL, and there are many others, who say, hey, I don't care if it's 90 degrees. I'm going to wear the hoodie. Okay, it seems like that's uncomfortable. Be uncomfortable for me. A lot of schwitzing going on in there, but you know, maybe that's part of it too, that they want to get up a little sweat, and their team issued hoodies. So if it's dirty, you just throw it in the laundry and get a fresh one. That's it's not like at home where you have to do your own laundry. All right, coming up in the next hour, more on the Commanders and as they get ready for the season, plus Ravens preview. We'll do that at 10:30. It's the Andy Pollin Show, ESPN 630. Yeah. Oh, God. What a great day. Micah Parsons sent to the Green Bay Packers for 2 number 1 picks and an aging tackle in Kenny Clark. Jerry. You just don't trade those guys. You just don't do it. Now, the Commanders are going to see him. They'll see him in less than 2 weeks when they play their first Thursday night game at Green Bay, but then they're done with him. Won't have to see him twice a year. Unless, you know, there's a regular season game against them and a playoff game. So this is good. And it strengthens the Packers, too. You know, maybe they take some of the shine off the Philadelphia Eagles. There's all kinds of great parts to this for the Commanders and all kinds of bad stuff for the Dallas Cowboys, I think. I mean, if you're a fan of the Dallas Cowboys and you were holding out hope that they would have a rebound season with a healthy Dak Prescott, you got to be just disgusted right now. You got to be sick to your stomach about this. That these guys, when you have one, you keep them. You just don't let them get away. And this is yet another example of Jerry Jones probably looking at this like, oh no, they're not going to tell me what to do. This is me. I'm the guy who took the big risk, bought the Dallas Cowboys when I couldn't afford it, when people said it was crazy to spend that kind of money. You know, you heard all of that. And this is Jerry saying, I'm going to do it my way, and this is the way I'm going to do it. And according to what Don Van Natta has, that Jerry had brought in Micah Parsons, and said, let's do a deal. They had a handshake agreement, and Parsons went back to his agent, and the agent said, you can't do it that way, and he reneged on the deal. So in a revenge move, Jerry traded him, and he's trying to put lipstick on this pig by saying, okay, now we got money to go and get other players. Yes, you can get other players. You can't get another Micah Parsons. It doesn't work that way. Now, this was Dan Quinn, yesterday at his news conference before he knew that this trade was made. And he was asked about opening the season with these two games so close together. The opener at home against the New York Giants a week from Sunday, and then 5 days later, they're playing at Green Bay. And this is his take on playing a Thursday night game so early.
Having a Thursday game is challenging. Having a Thursday game at week 2 is better than week 7 because having, I don't know if the term would be exactly right, like a preseason bye, how we've changed the schedule. So this window allows flexibility. I'm sure some teams are just doing, 2 weeks on the opponent they're playing in the opener. But with that Thursday, there is some windows that the coaches aren't with the players, and they had Sunday off. I met with them by myself Monday. The players then had off Tuesday to begin practice Wednesday. So there was some pockets that they were able to do that. And then you have to shut the folders and put that in the drawer, and it doesn't come back out again until that Monday. But it did help.
Well, I would say this. The game planning for the Green Bay Packers, particularly on offense with Cliff Kingsbury, has probably changed fairly dramatically in the last 12 to 15 hours. I would think so. I think that they were starting to assemble some type of a game plan, and now you got to worry, oh, man, we have got to protect Jaden Daniels. Now, Laramie Tunsil, let's hope he's fully healthy because he's going to have his work cut out for him. And that's not exactly where Parsons comes from every time either. He'll come from any place. But yeah, the welcoming of the Thursday night game early in the season, the thinking might change a little bit now that you're facing number 11. And so Dan Quinn, nobody knows Micah Parsons as well as Dan Quinn because he coached him for 2 years. The first 2 years he's in the league, or second and third year that he was in the league. Yeah, he's coached Micah Parsons, and during all this negotiation, there was not that it would be in any way realistic that he'd be traded to Washington. They wouldn't pay that. They didn't want to pay that salary anyway. But you heard the speculation, and there was even a report that Micah Parsons made it clear that he wanted to play in Washington because he loved playing for Dan Quinn. And you turn him loose, and it's a whole different ballgame. All right, let's turn to some college football here. As I told you, I'm now a season ticket holder for Maryland football. I'm not real successful getting a lot of people to go with me for the opening game, but I'm going to go at least for a half. Tomorrow they play Florida Atlantic. I bought these tickets because I like the scene of college football. I like the whole atmosphere, and I like the tailgating. And my granddaughter's 3. My grandson is 8 months, 7 months. So he'll get older and he'll start to go. So I figured, with my kids and friends and stuff, I'll use the ticket. So I'm looking forward to going out there tomorrow. Weather's supposed to be spectacular, so that's a good thing. And this is going to be an interesting year for Mike Locksley because this is his 7th year. Well, I think he has done an excellent job, and I know I got a lot of pushback on that, but this Maryland, it's a tough place to win. And you're in the Big Ten, and you got teams like Michigan coming in, and Nebraska's better. And, okay, you don't play Ohio State every year, but, it's Wisconsin you're going to play. Wisconsin, I'll get to them in a second. But it's a tough deal. It's a tough deal, and that's what I always felt. As soon as I heard the news they were going to the Big Ten, they'll be fine in basketball. It'll be a competitive situation just like it was in the ACC. And the ACC really wasn't the ACC anymore because you didn't have home and homes with Duke and North Carolina and the matchups that made the ACC so great. Like they said that their rivalry game was with Pitt. So that's just ridiculous. So that in that regard, it wasn't as painful to be going to the Big Ten as opposed to staying in the ACC. But I knew football was going to be a problem, and it has been. And last year, Mike Locksley had a rough year. He won only 4 games. So I think with the new athletic director and Ed Smith, he's going to have some spotlight, and he's going to be expected to put together a better team. Now, Billy Edwards was the quarterback last year. Billy Edwards saw the handwriting on the wall because they signed Malik Washington from Spalding in Severn, Maryland, and he was one of the top quarterback prospects in the country. He's a big guy, 6'5", 230 pounds. We don't know whether he's going to start tomorrow, but Billy Edwards knew that, okay, his time was going to be limited. He was going to play only until they had Malik Washington ready to go, and I don't think Malik Washington came to Maryland to sit on the bench. So Billy Edwards goes to Wisconsin. Now, years ago, this would have been unheard of. A Maryland quarterback transfers to Wisconsin and becomes the starter. But this is the way college football works in 2025, and sure enough, Billy Edwards started last night against Miami of Ohio. Unfortunately, he suffered what they call a non-contact injury. Went to the locker room, came back in the second half, but in street clothes. So I don't know what the injury is. If it's a knee injury, ACL, something like that, he's probably out for the year. But he completed 6 of 13 passes for 68 yards, looked kind of inconsistent. And so they turned to his backup. Well, who's his backup? Some freshman? Hell no. That's not the way college football works. San Diego State freshman transfer, not freshman, but transfer, Danny O'Neal. He's a sophomore. He threw for 2,100 yards last year and 12 touchdowns as a true freshman. You stay at San Diego State, right? No, probably more money to go to Wisconsin, so he's now the quarterback. And Billy Edwards, he may, because if you play 4 games or less, you get a redshirt year. So Billy Edwards may be on to, this is his 3rd school, he may be on to his 4th school next year. That's just the reality of college football. And so as Maryland looks to rebound with a new quarterback situation, Wisconsin now picks up the pieces with Billy Edwards out and maybe out for the season. We'll see. We have the most hyped opener that I can remember. There have been majorly hyped college football games in the past, including one of the ones that is regarded as one of the great games of all time. It was when the Big 8 was one of the kingpins of college football, and the Nebraska-Oklahoma game in 1971 is considered to be a classic. But this is an opener with everybody watching. Who else? Arch Manning. This is Texas. They are number 1 in the country. Ohio State, the defending champions, number 3. This is in the Horseshoe in Columbus, but Texas is favored in this. And the numbers that you have now in college football are just astounding. Here's Arch Manning. He's played or started 2 games in his career, played briefly in like 8 others last year. His NIL money this year is $6.8 million. $6.8 million, which is, I think, more than the base salary for Jaden Daniels, if I'm not mistaken, because a lot of the rookie deal that Daniels got was in signing bonus, like $25 million. But actual salary, $6.8 million. That is $2.5 million more than Carson Beck. Carson Beck, oh, yeah. Didn't he win a national championship at Georgia a couple years ago? Yeah, he did. But he went to Miami for the bag. He got the money, as the kids say. He's just slightly less than Arch Manning, about $4.3 million to quarterback at Miami. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. And the hype for Manning, not just the name, but we've been hearing about Arch Manning now for 6 years, 6 football seasons. We were hearing about Arch Manning when he was a freshman in high school, and he was, of course, highly recruited. Coming in, he was same high school as his dad played at Newman in New Orleans, and his uncles. That is the Manning football factory, and he was majorly hyped. Who'd have thought that he would sit for 2 full years at Texas? Might have been part of the design, because when he steps on the field tomorrow in Columbus, he's not going to be overwhelmed coming from a small high school in New Orleans right to the spotlight of college football, because he's been in it. And this is a rematch of the game that was played in the playoff last year with Texas losing to Ohio State, and a chance to avenge that this year. But think about this. It's a guy who started 2 college games. He is considered to be, I think, the preseason favorite for the Heisman. Texas is the preseason favorite for the national championship. And though his grandfather said, well, I think he's going to stay more than 1 year, Arch pushed back on that, so he may have the trifecta. He may have the Heisman, he may have the national championship, and he may be the number one pick of the draft. The last guy I remember doing that, and I could be wrong about this, but Tony Dorsett was not the number one pick in 1977. The tragic Ricky Bell, who played at USC and died like in his 30s of some type of an ailment. He was the number one pick of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tony Dorsett went number two. But not only that, he won the Heisman Trophy. Pitt won the national championship. He was the number two pick of the draft, and his rookie year he won the Super Bowl and was Rookie of the Year. You can't have a 12, 14-month run like that. So the hype for Arch is enormous. And on the NIL deals, Jesse Dougherty of the Post wrote a story about what it's like for like the rest of the world. This isn't Texas. Texas, schools like that, they're going to come up with the cash. Ohio State, there's going to be no problem. But what about Maryland and the NIL? What about schools at that level? This is what Jesse writes in the Post. NIL was like digging for loose change to buy a gift, paying athletes with booster cash or local sponsorships just to stay in the game, even if the budget was already in the red, said K.C. Smurthwaite, a college sports consultant specializing in revenue generation. Revenue sharing is more like maxing out a credit card and hoping for future income. TV deals, fundraising, corporate sponsorships, premium seating, ticket sales will cover the bill. And there, they will try to attack athletes who have had plenty of other suitors juggling overdue or upcoming expenses and praying the card doesn't get declined. Some of the things that are being offered, like, just to raise the cash. Oklahoma, for the price of $692.11, a fan and one guest can sit in on the post-game news conferences after the Sooners play Michigan on September the 6th. For the season opener against Illinois State, price is a little bit lower, $461.61. CNN reported in mid-August that the spots for the game were already sold out. Let me tell you something. As one who has attended thousands of post-game news conferences and was paid to do it, I wouldn't even take a check to go to one now, much less pay close to $700 to sit in on a news conference, a post-game news conference where generally nothing is said. I mean, you may get an answer as to why the starting quarterback was pulled at some point, or most of the time they're injury updates, and the coach will say almost all the time, I don't know, I have to check with the trainer. You're going to pay $700 for that? Sucker. Just a sucker. But that's how they're looking to raise cash. That's all part of the picture. They're trying to squeeze out as much as they can. Whatever coins shake out of the couch, that's money for NIL. That's to pay the players, and that's Oklahoma. That's one of the blue bloods. They got cash, but that's the state of the game. And when quarterbacks are making multi-million-dollar deals, I don't know how sustainable this is. I mean, I guess it doesn't kick in until next year with and maybe the NIL. I don't even know how the NIL deals count versus what is essentially a salary cap in college sports now, $20.5 million, where the football schools like Georgia are already saying, oh, yeah, we're plowing like 80% into the football team and some into the basketball team and whatever's left, loose change for the non-revenue sports. No, that's college football in 2025. I will say this. The games have not been impacted. I enjoy watching college football. I do. It has not ruined the games. So in that regard, maybe it works. But the way the money is spread around, it's absolute chaos. All right, tomorrow, as part of the build-up to this game, this is not going to be an ESPN game. It's the high noon kickoff on Fox. But of course, the best pregame show in the business, probably the best show period on ESPN, is College Game Day. And this will be Lee Corso's last game. They did this with Hubie Brown last Christmas, where they let Hubie do one more game for the NBA. And now that he is 90 years old, this will be the last game for Lee Corso, and the last time that he puts on the mascot head when he picks the game between Texas and Ohio State. The first time he put on a mascot head was actually an Ohio State game, but the first time that Game Day went on the road was 1993, And this was towards the end of the season where you had Florida State and Notre Dame both ranked in the top 5. And they had a studio show for a long time. I mean, and the cost of this in 1993, $50,000 was considered to be prohibitive. But they said, all right, let's see how this works. And Fowler, when he was talking to Dan Patrick yesterday, said almost right away they knew this was going to work.
There were signs the first time. I mean, Lee Corso came out of the pep rally at Notre Dame on Friday night, and he had picked Florida State all week, the alma mater, and they were the favorite. And he said, can I change my pick? We had just seen Storiano Regis or somebody was in there doing their thing. And Lee saw so much spirit at Notre Dame that he immediately wanted to change his pick, and which was funny. It was Craig James was there, the pony was doing his thing. And Lou Holtz, they won the game, and he made a beeline for our set, which was just down the hall from his office, and just jumped up on the set. Corso jumped up, tried to give him his microphone. Like I said, it was pretty raw back then, but we knew we had something. And then, year after year, we began to draw bigger crowds, and campuses wanted to outdo the other one and break the record. And it was wild. It was fun from the morning. The post-game shows were a blast. We'd just be sitting outside the stadium, and the students would spill out and run to the set. Those were the days when it was simpler, shorter, smaller, but also very raw.
Your first memory or first thing that comes to mind with Lee Corso back in the embryonic stages of College Game Day?
I was thinking the other day, I was doing a show with Lee. Wisconsin had blown a game. Something had happened late in the game, coach's decision. And I'm the only one on the desk with Lee at that year. And he says, Barry Alvarez, the coach at the time, should walk into the locker room, stand in front of his team, and resign immediately. He should quit. I mean, it occurs to me, I'm the only one here. I have to say something about that. There's Craig James wasn't on the show. That Bino wasn't there. No one was there but me. You have to say something like, Lee, you're not serious. Nothing I say is serious. So he was kidding, but wow. I had to be the only one there to check him, Dan. Now there's about 7 guys on game day to check him. But in the early days, he would say stuff well before he became like the lovable grandpa figure that everybody smiles when they see. He would say stuff that would piss off players, coaches, fans. That he was a polarizing guy, and that helped spark things, helped get eyeballs and interest on the show. And he and Craig would go at it, and then later Kurt came on and they would go at it, and that was the early years of Game Day. It was he was like a hot take guy before that existed, right? But he did it, with taste.
And then the headgear.
Yes.
What?
That's instant. I mean, when the minute he puts on, Brutus Buckeye head is sort of this. It's a nut, and I think back in the day it was. I don't know if it was in mint condition when he got it. It was kind of beat up, but he put this thing on. It was a tense negotiation with Ohio State to get them to give up Brutus's head. The story is part of Game Day mythology, but Kirk Herbstreit's wife Allison had been a cheerleader at Ohio State. They said no, sorry, but no. Later in the week, are you sure? Can we be pushed? And they said, okay, fine, we'll do it. And we'll see how this goes. And the minute he puts it on, I mean, it's silly looking, but you knew, oh, wow, suit, tie, Brutus head, and we're on to something. And then every other school saw the magic of that. And then most of them were willing to cooperate. Now they all cooperate, of course. But it was instant. We knew we were onto something.
Best celebrity picker that you had?
Ooh, that's tough because these celebrities, especially the comedians, wanted to come play with Lee Corso. I mean, that was the reason, I think, why they came on the show. The pick segment at the end, Bill Murray, Will Ferrell, Vince Vaughn, I mean, some of the funniest people on the planet wanted to come sit and play off of him and have him say, not so fast, my friend. Bill Murray was he was unhinged. He was a Clemson fan. They were playing Florida State. Lee put on the Seminole stuff. We had a little mound of dirt in front of the set so he could throw a spear in the ground like Chief Osceola. Bill Murray basically undid that whole plan. Like, he knocked him to the ground, did an atomic knee drop on him. I mean, Lee wasn't young then. Okay, he's 90 now. He wasn't young then. And Bill would grab the spear and he threw it. This had a real like spear tip. This wasn't a prop. He threw the thing like over the heads of these people who were gathered by the set, Home Depot guests, I guess. and it landed on this demo field of it harmlessly, thank God. I mean, somebody could have been impaled. But I just think about that. Alice Cooper, all these characters that you would think would have nothing to do with the sport and certainly wouldn't be in the same frame as Lee Corso, but he's sitting there with these guys. I just have beautiful memories of that.
What about the musket at West Virginia?
What about all the firearms? I mean, in the Big 12, every school has a firearm involved. And people think, what, you guys were soft. You're reacting like it's a cannon in your head. Well, as you know, there's a lot of microphones around the set. All these effects microphones that go into your headset. The headsets are cranked up really loud, so you can block out the noise and you can hear yourself. Back in those days, I think we had headsets before we got earpieces, but the earpieces are airtight too, so you can't hear anything else. When he shot the damn guns, I mean, it was beyond deafening. Like you just couldn't sit there and not flinch or duck or something,
That's Chris Fowler. He was the original host of Game Day, and now that's been turned over. He's the Fowler does tennis as well. I guess he's going to hop over to the U.S. Open after he does the pregame show tomorrow from Columbus. But you think about what pregame shows have been. And I think the granddaddy of them all was what Brett Musburger did with the NFL Today on CBS. It was a half an hour. It was a half an hour. And pregame shows have expanded and expanded and expanded. And I believe when they started doing this show in the studio, it was an hour. It eventually got expanded to 2 hours. Now it's 3 hours. And I think the fact that Lee Corso was instrumental in keeping it entertaining. It's a guy who was a jester for sure, but he knew football. He was a coach, assistant coach at various places, including Maryland. Tried to get Joe Namath to come to Maryland. Didn't have the grades, so he went to Alabama. He coached at Navy. He was a head coach at Louisville and also at Indiana. So he had credentials here, but he also understood the humor element of this. And, God love Dick Vitale, but I don't think Dick Vitale had really the sense of humor that you get from Lee Corso, because Vitale was just outlandish. He super duper. And then as years went on, if you watch Dick Vitale games like the 80s, he's actually analyzing the game. Now he just does Dick Vitale. And God bless him. He's raised a hell of a lot of money for cancer research. He's had his own battles with it. But I think when you look at the two of them side by side, I think what the contribution was from Lee Corso was different. I don't want to say better, but different than it was from Dick Vitale. A lot of people put them together, both of them coaches, and both know their sport. But really a great sense of humor and a great sense of television from Lee Corso, who will have his swan song tomorrow. All right, coming up, we got Ravens preview as the Ravens will open the season a week from Sunday night against the Buffalo Bills team that ended their season last year. We will have a preview of their season and more as we continue. It's the Andy Pollin Show, ESPN 630.